kindly the floor, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Welcome everybody also from my side. For those who I haven't been able to talk to personally. I'm Isabel Micheel from the European Institute for Participatory Media in Berlin. Talking here today also on behalf of Isabel Micheel, who's the founder of the Institute, and Neil Fatanali from Politecnico, all partners of the Smart H2 project. So just briefly about myself, I'm a researcher in user-centered design, so especially in the project I was involved in a lot of the requirements, elicitation in the beginning together with users in workshops, keeping close contact also with the developers who were developing the portal and software that is targeted towards the end users and involved in the evaluation methodology and evaluating the platform from the user perspective, basically. So today, my topic is gamification for water utilities. So I'm going to start with a brief overview of gamification, how that works. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with the details of it, but trying to quickly move on to gamification as a strategy for water demand management, so for motivating more efficient water use in end users. And then soon moving into the Smart H2 project, where we have applied gamification as a motivation main aspect of the incentive model to facilitate use of the platform. And I brought some very preliminary results today, but we'll see about that. We're still in the middle of evaluating, so a lot of those things are just preliminary. So just as an introduction, what's gamification? We often use this definition, the use of game design techniques and game mechanics to enhance non-game context, so as a motivational factor to trigger specific behavior. So there are related concepts, words such as persuasive games, serious games, games for the purpose that are talking about actual games, but most of the time gamification is just using aspects that we know from games and introducing them to motivate behavior in more serious contexts, such as water use. Here's some more common examples of gamification that we all partially know. Some of them have more elaborate gamification concepts, and others just use individual elements, such as LinkedIn, where it's just small details for the onboarding and for having a strong profile, where they play a little bit with status on the portal. Then Duolingo, where you have a lot of goal setting and tasks to fulfill. Also, it's a lot used in exercising apps where you want to motivate behavior and more healthier behavior, or forums where you want to motivate contributions a lot from users, or something like Foursquare where you want a lot of user-generated content to vote on things and gamify this a little bit with different kinds of badges. So just briefly about the most typical game elements, there are a lot more you can use, so you have to kind of figure out that for your context, what might be more suitable than others. Often there's points involved, a score, such as the examples here, from a research grid or treehouse, which is the most immediate feedback and kind of the external display progression. And points are kind of the basis of the whole gamified idea usually. Often there's an aspect of competition in there where you have a leaderboard. You can compare yourself to other users and to foster competition and participation. You just have to see a little bit what type of users are dealing with. Might be demotivating for the less successful or less active users. But we've seen that surely also a lot of times in platforms such as Stack Overflow, for example, is a very strong gamification aspect. Then there's achievements and badges. So achievements, set of tasks, so that you have to fulfill certain milestones and track your progress more easily in the system, so that you're not all over the place when you're interacting with it. And badges are these virtual artifacts that you get as a kind of external reward, but it's still virtual, so keeping that within the system. and they can be very visually appealing, and certain types of users are very attracted to that as well. So you usually don't have one type of user who likes all the gamification aspects. You have to just figure out who likes what, offer certain different aspects there. Looking a bit at gamification in the market, so there's a forecast here where you see it's rapidly growing, also specifically in the commercial sector, also across different application areas, not limited to any area, although you have to check a little bit if it's suitable in your context. And if you're looking at it, whether it's working or not, there's a lot of successful case studies out there. Here's an example from Samsung Nation, who have used it on their social loyalty program to encourage writing reviews, watching videos on users. They've been very successful with it. As you can see, other similar examples from the more commercial sector, SAP Community Network, they've introduced it gradually, starting with the point system already in 2004. That is kind of top contributors list. And they have also found that points and levels have significantly attributed to fostering participation and knowledge exchange, and found out that people were even starting to use their scores from the internal system in external settings. So using it in their CV, saying I have such a score on this particular network. So that can be very successful. You see here also from the same study, this is actually one of the commercial studies that did a little bit more founded research and not just marketing their great success on a very broad level, so you can have a look there on their statistics. Activity actually increased, community feedback increased. And of course, also in research, there are quite a few studies who have looked at the effects of gamification. If you want to have a deeper look, I can recommend Ami et al. They have done an extensive literature review of a lot of different gamified approaches. And they did find that the majority of the reviewed studies showed positive results, but also they noticed that it's not always the entire concept that was successful. Sometimes it was only certain aspects of it. And you have to really consider the context that is being gamified and the qualities of the users that you're dealing with. And sometimes that is a bit easier to narrow down, and other times you're dealing with a much broader user range, so you have to really see if it's maybe okay if it's only working with some users and not with others, but overall improving the outcome.
That's a question.
Yeah.
Are these mostly contexts where individual users are competing against each other, or is there a significant subset of these where you are competing as a group against other groups? Because to me, the dynamics in terms of the people that deal with are completely different.
I would have to look into that in more detail. I'm not exactly sure there. They did have, however, look at a lot of different types of applications and categorize them, then compare them also just within the group and not just overall. As it has become increasingly used, also, of course, there's a lot of criticism popping up. Some people saying there's only short-term effects, or you do have to often change process a little bit before you can use it, and it's not always efficient enough. So quite often it's also just a marketing hype, depending on how you use it as a firm. You have to just look a little bit more into in detail what you're actually doing. It's not, you can just, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You have to really try it out and then also give it a little bit more thought in the beginning before you actually start doing gamification. So how can this be used in motivating more sustainable consumption and the strategy for audit demand management? This is, you probably have seen this before in the previous presentation, but this is one of our case studies in the Smart H2 project, where one of the very things we were initially confronted with by Thames Water sources for water, and so they need to seriously decrease demand and manage that, despite more people moving into the area. And yeah, there's no other way than to manage demand, and we think gamification can be used to motivate that a little more. And this is what we set out to investigate also in the project. And two of the main challenges that we found are key to consider is first of all how we present information to the user and convey its meaning, so that they understand their consumption in the first place, and increase their awareness that there is a problem, what their own consumption is. And then in the second step, how can we enable movement with them to change their behavior? So it's a two-step process, at least. And then also, how can we induce and sustain behavior change? That's a lot of the big challenges. And so a lot of the things that have been used also in the past to do this is, for example, actionable tips. Gamification is one of the things you can do to foster interaction, visualization, disaggregation of information, comparison with historic data, with other users, similar households, so all sorts of comparisons to make data more meaningful to the user. And there are different approaches. One is the appliance-based approach, using a bit more of a playful element. We've seen up here already, which, if you think about it, it has the polar bears. That's kind of a fun element, game element. But then also other examples, like a shower calendar that was developed with different colors and points and scores that you can compare. So there's a lot of work going on the appliance-based side, and then we've just heard about WaterSmart, who don't have such an extensive gamification, but there's still aspects like the water score that they have that is a bit of the approach, and the fun water drop icons, that's all already kind of starting to get into that gamification area and getting users at a level where they're more engaged. A lot of research projects now that we know from the ICT for Water cluster, and not all of them are involved in this area, but some also work to develop interactive games or more visual dashboards and game-like experiences to motivate water use. And we as the Smart H2O project are kind of following this along the same path. So this brings me to the most critical, probably most interesting for you part of the session. So how did we do gamification in the Smart H2O project? So I'm trying to close the loop a little bit. You heard a lot of technical aspects of the Smart H2O project, and this is us trying to reach out to the end user and evaluating also the success that we hopefully have. And what do we do? Beyond the high resolution data and showing the user water consumption data, we put a lot of emphasis on user-centered design, working together with the user to develop these concepts and create innovative water demand management strategies, gamification, and attractive consumption visualization being two key aspects of this. So we try to combine visualization and also saving tips, so very key information about water consumption with different kinds of rewards in this gamification system. So we have personal, social, virtual, and physical rewards that come together as drivers in this gamification system. Yeah, you know, I've seen partner slides, so I'm skipping that. This is the loop that where we're working on, and you see gamification as one of the key engagement driving aspects. And yeah, to foster behavior change. And not just behavior change, but also awareness about the problem itself. That's the first start. You have to start with the awareness before you can induce behavior change. And we do have developed this Yeah. So a bit more into the theory of how we did this. So a lot of times, changing water consumption is approached in a one-step process, basically. So you want to change behavior, you just change behavior. But it's actually much more than that, and we are considering this as a multi-stage process from the theoretical background. You have different stages, different needs, different incentives. And this is a trans-theoretical model of behavioral change that we look at from cognitive psychology. So we assume that the first phase that a user could have is the pre-contemplation phase, where he's completely unaware of the problem. No idea that there's even water shortage. And there's the contemplation phase, where you start forming your opinion. There's the action phase, where you actually do change your behavior. And then there's the monitoring stage, where you sustain behavior. And any user could start out, of course, in any of those phases. We just have to make sure we are able to cater to all the different types of users, also the ones that are unaware, and also looking at the ones that are already doing a lot of stuff and keeping them engaged over time. So to build our incentive model based on that, we've looked at what are the different elements we can use and how do they relate to this, to these different stages. So if we present water consumption feedback, hopefully that is something that can affect all stages all throughout the model. We have actionable tips that are especially useful in the action phase, but also in the first phase, where we start even thinking about there being other alternatives to what I'm doing right now. We looked at self-set goals, and we're using those in the portal, but they're more for the more advanced users that are kind of already doing the action and want to sustain their behavior over time. Different types of rewards also target most of the stages. And then there's the hybrid and online card games, which we consider more at the beginning. So at some point, they probably lose interest in the games, but they're a good way to get started, to spark interest, especially in the kids that are then bringing it into the parents. So it's trying to close the loop a little bit between all these different types of users. So in the project, as I said, our main two end-user objectives are to reduce water consumption and to raise awareness. And that's not the right order. It should be raise awareness and reduce water consumption as the second step. And for this, we have created an application. And our testing is mainly these two case studies in Locarno, where we have 400 smart water meters installed, and then Valencia, which is a much bigger case study. And we're just in the middle of rolling that out, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. And in both case studies, we're trying to follow this user-centered approach, so we didn't start with a finished product and just throwing it at them, but we started with some mock-ups, and where we mapped out some of the ideas we had. The first visual prototype, we went in and talked to users and told them about the main aspects of it, and discussed this especially here in the Swiss workshop. And we found out, okay, gamification is fun, but there's also a lot of other users that we consider that do not even want to deal with gamification whatsoever. So in Switzerland, we actually have two versions available of the portal. There's a more basic portal that has no gamification. It's just if you're interested in your water consumption, you can look in there and see what's going on, and you can opt into the gamified portal on all those issues and being able to win prizes. And then we looked at how can we actually present water consumption in a fun way that combines visualization with gamification aspects. Looking into the literature, we found out that visualization should be present different levels of detailed information. So sure, users can have a look at the bar chart and really dive into the data, but we may want a more simple way of presenting consumption and just giving this easy indicator. How are you doing? How are you doing? And we've come up with this water pipe metaphor that has evolved, of course, a lot over the time of the project. This is now on the right-hand side, the final version. green light when you're doing okay. That means staying below your baseline, but you get a warning when you're slightly higher, and you get a red warning when you're way beyond. This is kind of a leakage alert already for the user, seeing what's going on when there's so far off my usual baseline. And for the rewards, we are taking two different approaches in the two case studies, mainly due to the very different characteristics of the case studies, and this is kind of our reality check. We have to kind of talk to each utility, what are they willing to do. So in Kenya, where we have in the Swiss case study, we have a very small base. We have this marketplace, and you can collect points, and you can redeem any type of reward that we have for the amount of points that you collect. And so, because we know we have a very small fixed number of users, there's no risk of us running out of product X quickly, and we don't have to store so many of those in together. Versus in Valencia, we have a much bigger case study, and so we are doing two things. We have an onboarding strategy where all the users are suggested the first series of tasks to do, and then they can redeem their drop copy as a first incentive, and then everything else is competition based. So all the other prizes you can win on the portal, and those are actually pretty good prizes. You have to win through competition by having the most points per week. You get each week there's a weekly competition, and you have the chance of winning tickets to this Oceanographic Museum. It's very closely related to nature, so there's a nice exhibition there. And you can win several times, so you can actually collect tickets, right? This is also a nice incentive. So if you have a family of 4, you might want to make sure you win 4 weeks so you get 4 tickets. And then there's a final prize at a fixed period that we now set at the end of the year, where people are competing in the overall competition, and they can win iPads there. So this is a really big prize that we're setting up. Yeah, so it's a lot about external rewards there, not so much about internal motivations, but this is really the approach. This is what the portal now looks. And since yesterday I tried to do a live demo, but the screen was really difficult to control, so I'm just going to show you a video now. So you get the idea for those who haven't seen it yet. And it's my voiceover anyway, so whether I'm talking live or on the video. Is there the loudspeaker?
Yes, actually, there aren't loudspeakers, but
No, just turning them up here, maybe just do this one.
no, there is actually a real sound system. The problem is that
understand the meaning of their consumption. And so we have this panel also on the right hand side showing them in more visual terms how much they're actually consuming over the years. So if they are consuming the same that they are doing now, how would that translate into swimming pools? To get them also a feel for the units, because they're really, I mean, especially cubic meters, it's very abstract to most of the users, so to get them a little bit of a nice way to help understand them.
Sure enough, Smart Water wants to encourage and reward you to save water. Reduce your average by up to 50% and win points after each successful week or month. For example, if you reduce your consumption by 10% this month, you earn 600 points. And if you like to gamble or just feel confident enough, you can set one level as your goal for a chance to earn twice as many points. But remember, this way the other levels will be disabled until the next week or month start. But what can you actually do to save water around the house and garden? Find out on the tips page. It shows you handy tips and what you can do to save water in many different ways, so you can choose what's right for you. Let the portal know that you read a tip and get points. There are also videos about different ways to smart water consumption. For each video you watch, you also get points. Another easy way to earn points is to fill out your household profile. Here you can specify, for example, how many members your household counts, your environmental sensitivity, what type of house or flat you live in, or the devices you have at home. Provided info is of course kept confidential. Based on your total number of points, you are ranked on a leaderboard. This way, the community can see your achievements and you can compare yourself to them. For an easy overview of all your achievements on any page that you're currently on, just open up the sidebar. It shows you all your past actions that earn you points, even your past logins. Points are also summed up for thematic category, and you can earn values to boost your reputation as the community engager, the super profiler, or the smart saver. You're not interested in virtual reputation? Well, there's more. You can also redeem your points in exchange for real rewards, like the Smart Water Board Game Draw, a fun game for all ages. If you have collected enough points for a reward, you can just order it directly on the portal and we will ship it to you. Are you hungry for more points? Find a list of actions here and get inspiration what else you can do on the portal. The sidebar even shows you your position on the leaderboard at all times. So join the Smart Water portal and start saving water in a fun way now.
Yeah, so you get an idea. In the Spanish case study, we are using the leaderboards then as the basis for a competition. So you always have the weekly leaderboard to see if you're getting closer to any prizes, and also the overall competition where you can track your progress. And yeah, you know about Drop, so you have the card game that syncs with the app. But it's kind of part of this overall concept that we can also use this to get families involved and use this in schools to get people interested in the first place, and then bring them also onto the portal. And actually, one thing you're probably not aware of yet, any points if you're connected your Drop account to your Smart H2O account, any points you earn on the app are also listed on the portal, so you can use those to get other rewards or boost your score in the leaderboard. So this feeds back if you have a connected account. So as I said, I have brought some initial results really early. We've published in the paper that you're welcome to have a look at in more detail. And tell you a little bit about the validation strategy that we are pursuing. So for the small scale case study in Kenya, it's more about testing and tuning all the little features and see if it's working and it won't have such a big impact if some things don't work. That's our test bed, basically. Testing the measurement, infrastructure, and user acceptance on a smaller scale. So we do run surveys and we do keep track of activities on the portal. But the real case study that matters to us is the Spanish case study, because we are able to do full-scale operational rollout with all the customers of Emivasa. And we can test smart water in a real-world condition and see how that's going. So actually there's 419,000 smart meters, but in Valencia the case is a little bit different. We're hopping onto an existing product. So they have already a basic consumer portal for their customers ready at hand. And it presents some basic information about their consumption and their water bill. And in Switzerland, we have this basic portal ourselves that we offer, and people can upgrade. And basically, we're doing the same thing here. We have the basic portal that Emivasa is running, and users have the option to also try our more advanced features. So we do have to deal with this opt-in problem that Will was just talking about, but there's just no other way to do that for us in this case study. And we are not measuring consumption. We are going a little bit beyond that. So we have the app for one. So of course we're looking at how is the technology acceptance of the portal, also on the use case level that we have defined in the project. And we are checking behavior. So the first is measured with questionnaires, and the second is looking at activity logs and seeing how people are interacting. And we are measuring awareness with the theory of planned behavior. We heard a little bit about this in a previous talk. But this is a way to look at water consumption determinants and already keep track of people gradually changing awareness, which eventually will be behavior change. So I'm sure you remember the diagram, but there's different determinants, and eventually they lead to behavioral intention, and after that comes the actual behavior change. So by measuring those determinants with questionnaires before and after, we're hoping to see also development beyond just change consumption. Since we can't be sure how successful that will be over the time that we can measure, so this will be an additional determinant for us. Yeah, and finally, we do measure, of course, behavior and compare the smart meter readings against the baseline that we have. So in Tania, this is just data from Tania, and we have very few users. We have actually 49 overall in the portal. But consider we only have 40 smart meters to begin with, so we're a bit limited here. And for us, this was the first test, and this was the measurements were taken for over a 3-month period from November 1st to February 6th. And the baseline actually leads up to that. And the problem we had at the time, of course, we had started measurements sometime earlier in the year, and we have varying baselines at this point. For different households. So this is very preliminary, and in just about, I would say, same time, November, we will be able to have a complete baseline in Tania, and then we can actually look a lot closer at the same periods, comparing them for the 2 different years, the baseline year and the measurement year. And so now we do have, we measured really high reductions, and we did a lot of the tests and checking the seasonal influences, and they do account for quite a bit of a reduction, but already now it seems to reduce consumption quite a bit for those users that are using the portal. We don't have control over Tania. We can just, well, we do have the other meter readings, we can see what's happening there, but this is just to give us a kind of a broad idea of if it's working on a small scale. And in Tania, we also looked, we asked users what they thought of the portal, and got some very gives an indicator to us what we can look for in Valencia. Now it's really going. Yeah, and we measured this with the standardized framework. Yeah, and we also looked at the activity on the portal, and while we can't say too much about the, I don't know why it's going so fast. Is there a stop button somewhere? And we analyzed a bit the activity of lead users, since we can't do statistical analyses, but it was interesting to see what the lead users were doing. And even there, we could see very different behavior and how they would interact with the gamification. This is what I was indicating earlier. No user is the same, and everybody has their own interest in this gamification. And you offer them different things to motivate them at different levels. So you see two users here. One was claiming all the rewards and getting all the badges in the very beginning, and still continued to use the portal. And then, so obviously his motivations were sparked a little bit by the rewards maybe, but actually come from within and sparked interest in the consumption itself. So he was checking the consumption continuously, even though there was no more big rewards for him to win. And then we have another user where you could see he was actually he also had a peak of the game, but then he was constantly using it until he had gotten the main reward, and then he stopped. So basically, you see his main motivation was just getting the main reward, which was the Zero. And so he was working after that. And that's the question, is there even a chance to get those users back if you're going so much into this external reward system? We'll see how that goes. And in the Spanish case study, we're in the middle of rolling out, so I can show you some of our recruitment results. So far, we did promotion via email and paper bill to those users who are already using the virtual office. So we're not targeting all of the users, we were using those, targeting those that are already affiliated with email. We did get 344 users as a first user base, and we definitely want to scale up. There's no way this is satisfactory, but we did get a very good response rate on the questionnaire. So we're lucky we get a very complete set of questionnaires for those users who do sign up, and we're able to, this is a good number already to keep track of how they're doing. And we do have a control group in the Spanish case study, and we contact them via a call center, and those are the users who are not using the portal. So I contacted them through the call center. We are able to get 2 mutually exclusive groups, and they also answered our baseline awareness questionnaire, and we'll contact them again afterwards and see how they compare as a means of comparison to the exposure group. And we are currently doing continuous promotion to scale up the case study more, and we'll run a second campaign in October when people are coming back from vacation, with introducing a few more features so that it hopefully plays a big role too. So this is kind of just I will go into this first. And the new features do include a mobile app that will come out, and this probably will boost a lot of the interest too. We hope to. The portal is web-based right now, so that probably is not interesting for everybody. And we'll have an weekly email digest sending them a bit of how they're doing in their consumption. To lure them back into the portal. We won't show them the full picture, just kind of teasing them a little bit. And we will have social sharing features, and we'll see if we have similar results or if people are actually willing to share a little bit more through Facebook, Twitter, or email. And they are able to share their mini public profiles that we'll generate for them. And there will be a neighborhood comparison. In addition to the leaderboard as an opt-in strategy, and we'll see how that goes, where you can kind of directly have a look what other people are doing. Not on a detailed basis, of course, but more on the gamification level. Yeah. So basically, conclusion. We did use behavioral psychology to construct the incentive model, and we also used quite extensively, not so much in the water sector, but in other ecological fields, and especially in the energy sector. They're a lot further in that respect. So they are using those standardized psychology frameworks a lot more than we do still in the water sector. We hope to kind of close the gap there and yeah, introduce a bit more of the awareness research that goes beyond just pure measurements. And we do have these initial promising findings from the small-scale study, and we'll see how they play out in the big scale in Valencia. And we just hope that we can recruit more users and get continuous engagement until the end of the project, and then hopefully have a lot more exciting results. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a question. Is it possible for a user to get rewards by referring someone else to get into the game, or to